Hello ladies and jelly spoons, welcome to 24K Movies, TV shows, and video game reviews. Ladies and gentlemen, the month of Halloween is upon us and it's right around the corner. What we are going through today is something that's long overdue, but it needs to be talked about. We are talking about none other than the Ghostbusters franchise. Now I did a whole review of the games that support this series over on the Game Ninja Network. So if you type in Rain the Game Ninja and go to my channel, it's one of the latest videos that I did. It goes through a ton of Ghostbusters games, all the way back from the old school all the way to the new, and some games you didn't even know existed. Fun time, phenomenal. I absolutely love it, ladies and gentlemen. And like I said, we are still in Ghostbusters full mode, so we are going to review Ghostbusters the franchise. That's right, Ghostbusters the franchise. So I want you to pull out them PKE meters. Oh, it's some spiritual stuff going on up in here today. I want you guys to break out all that memorabilia, that stuff that you got laying around. Well, you may not. I'm kind of a geek bone, so I'm into the geek nerdum more than others. I even have coasters. We've got coasters. Ladies and gentlemen, the Ghostbusters would not be the Ghostbusters without those four amazing actors. We have the late, great Hal Ramis as Egon Spengler. One love to you. Ghostbusters Afterlife, when they superimposed his image onto a ghost where all the Ghostbusters were standing together, I went to tears. First time I've ever cried in a Ghostbusters movie. Rest in peace, Hal Ramis. You were and always was the heart of the Ghostbusters. Ladies and gentlemen, you did have, who's my boy? Ray Stantz, Dan Aykroyd. That's right, he is the scientific brain and resident Gozer expert here at the Ghostbusters team. You also have, bam, that's right, you have Ernie Hudson, Winston Zeddemore. He was the late addition added to the Ghostbusters, originally supposed to be played by Eddie Murphy. I would love to have seen that rendition, but Ernie Hudson, Winston Zeddemore, added so much to the actual movie that I actually prefer him in the role. He added a seriousness, a twist, and though he had a comic relief to the movie, he had a realism. The most closely one I would identify with would be Ernie Hudson. Knew nothing about paranormal, but he knew if it had a steady paycheck, he was involved. Ernie Hudson, Winston Zeddemore. We also have, that's right, Bill Murray. What was his name? Peter Venkman. That's right. Bill Murray, Peter Venkman. He was the resident asshole on the team, though smart and intriguing. He was also the love interest for Sigourney Weaver. If you saw the first movie, he was not just the comic relief, but he was supposed to be the leading man. Not that everybody else wasn't a ladies' man, but he was supposed to be the resident sexual, Dr. Sexy MD on The Resident. So ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, we have the Ghostbusters. And we are going to dig into the Ghostbusters universe. So let me put my coasters back in the pack. We're going to put them back up here. And ladies and gentlemen, I want you guys to understand one thing. One thing, if you understand nothing more than that and what is going on. And ladies and gentlemen, I know you didn't think I had it, but we have our own working ghost trap. That's right. That's how much of a geek bone we are. And I know what you're saying. Does it work? Well, I have the pedal right here tied to it. You roll out with the wheels, you clamp the pedal, and two in the box, ready to go. We be fast and they be slow. Ladies and gentlemen, I am a nut when it comes to Ghostbusters, and it is one of the franchises that I absolutely love and adore. I love the movies. I love the games. I love the cartoon. The real Ghostbusters. How many of you know that if you go back and look for the Ghostbusters cartoon, you're going to find two? Actually, you're going to find three different ones. One is going to have a monkey with a ghost pack and two other guys. You're going to be like, what the hell is this? Believe it or not, that was the first Ghostbusters cartoon before the Ghostbusters. Now, because they had the property rights and fight over everything with Funimation and everything else, the Ghostbusters had to end up calling their animated TV series The Real Ghostbusters, so that it distinguished it from the two over a problem with rights and properties and ownerships and the name. So if you're looking for the cartoon that you remember back in the day, it is The Real Ghostbusters. But I also said there was a third one. You have Slimer and The Real Ghostbusters. Now, if you don't know what I'm talking about, this is the first place where we jump into the Ghostbusters universe. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, we're going to start with the animated and move into real life. So sit back, relax with your favorite bag of snacks, and get ready for these movie tracks. Because I am the Game Ninja, this is 24K, and you're here, I'm here, we're here, let's have some fun. So first up, something you did not intend, the animated Ghostbusters. Let's go.
Something strange in the neighborhood. Who you gonna call?
And no.
It's all over, folks. We got him.
Like taking candy from a ghoulie. Gentlemen, I'm the owner of this plant, and I can't thank you enough. True. But as a token of my appreciation, please accept this. A year's supply of my finest chocolates.
Oh, yeah. How sweet it is.
Hi, guys.
Now, like I was saying, when it comes to the Ghostbusters animated, think of Batman, the animated series. It had some actual things that were real creepy, and then it had some things that was all comic and fun. But I like the fact that Partners in Slime, one of the best episodes I've ever seen. I do like what it brought to the table. And you may be asking, well, what inspired the cartoon? Well, ladies and gentlemen, none other than that 80s classic, The Ghostbusters.
Ghosts.
Hello, Ghostbusters.
They're real.
You do? You have?
They're here. They're dangerous.
Try to imagine all life as you know it stopping instantaneously and every molecule in your body exploding at the speed of light.
Right, that's bad.
Don't cross the
Okay.
streams.
All right, important safety tip. Thanks, Egon.
They're all that stands between you and the end of the world.
The city is headed for a disaster of biblical proportion.
Real wrath of God type stuff.
Fire and
Dogs and cats living together.
Human sacrifice, dogs and cats living together, mass hysteria.
Your girlfriend lives in the corner penthouse
Of Spook Central.
Spook Central.
You want this body?
Okay,
Is this a
Sigourney.
trick question?
Rick Moranis.
Got your stick? Hold! Pick him up! Smoke!
Aim for the flat top.
Make him hard! Ready!
Ghostbusters. Starring Bill Murray, Dan Aykroyd, Sigourney Weaver, Harold Ramis, Rick Moranis. Coming to save the world. Ghostbusters.
All right, ladies and jelly spoons. That is the trailer to Ghostbusters 1. Probably one of the most, and I say this with no embellishment, probably one of the most greatest movies of the 80s I've ever seen, and probably one of the best movies ever I've ever seen. Now, we're not talking about the subsequent sequels. We're just sticking, first of all, with the original Ghostbusters. This movie had everything. This movie had stuff for children, stuff for adults. You know what I mean? With the whole firehouse unbuttoning zipper scene with the ghost. That happened. It actually had elements of horror, from the real library to the actual spookiness of the things that actually happen while trying to get Gozer the Garzarian. There is possession. There is demonology. There is ghost. There is... The graphics are amazing. The special effects, both practical and CG. Proving the fact that CG could be done right even in the 80s. The soundtrack, the acting. I love it that nobody phoned their acting in. Everybody used their A game. And it was amazing when Harold Ramis, Egon, was on the scene. Egon commanded. When Peter was on the scene, Peter Venkman, Bill Murray, he commanded. When Ray Stantz was on the scene, Dan Aykroyd, he commanded. When Winston Zeddemore, virtually unknown to me at this point, I had never known him as an actor, he instantly came on the scene and gave it a bump. I love that they didn't hold back. It was kind of like the original Ninja Turtles movie, where there was cursing, realism, and there was a grit you could feel. You could actually feel the world. And it made you want to bust ghosts. It made you want to invent a proton accelerator, put it on your back, and go out and find ghosts. It made you want to grab the PKE meter and run and gun. And ladies and gentlemen, that excitement is what this whole universe is about. Now, Ghostbusters 1, to me, I found no weaknesses in it. Unfortunately, every movie, like CinemaSin says, is not without sin. There probably were some sins that people could pick out, but me, as an avid watcher, I loved it from beginning to end. I loved them showing how they were professors, how they got kicked out of the college, how they used their last money to buy this firehouse, how they believed in ghosts so much because they went to the library and saw a real spectral that they pushed and threw everything that they had into this venture to save a city who didn't even thank them for what they were doing. And that is the way it goes. Nobody really thanks you or needs you unless they're in the moments of when they need you and have to have you. And the Ghostbusters, it starts small and goes huge, all the way to the point where the iconic Stay Puft Marshmallow Man makes arrive on the scene, and you have 100-foot, 200-foot Marshmallow Man wreaking havoc on the city. And if you've ever played the game, Ghostbusters the game, they have a remastered version on PlayStation, on Xbox, on Nintendo Switch, on PC. There's no excuse not to find it. It's very cheap. Go and play Ghostbusters the game. It is the spiritual sequel to the actual first two Ghostbusters movie. It is voiced by the real people. Dan Aykroyd, Harold Ramis, Ernie Hudson, I keep calling him Peter Venkman, Bill Murray, Alyssa Milano. It's got the real Walter Peck. It's got Ray Murray. It's voiced by the real people. And graphic wise, when it started on the PSP and on the PlayStation 2, it wasn't as eye candy as you wanted it to be, but it was still a great time, and the story was absolutely amazing. But then they made a remastered version for the next gen, and it looks like them, it sounds like them because it is them, and the story is one of amazement. Literally, in between Ghostbusters 2 and the female Ghostbusters movie, which I have to include because it's part of the universe. Look, it's not my favorite. I'm going to put that on the table. It is the weakest of all the Ghostbusters franchise, and I didn't like that it didn't take itself serious. All the other Ghostbusters movie, including Afterlife and the Frozen Empire, they took themselves serious enough to understand the lore. The female Ghostbusters reiteration, Kristen Wiig, Melissa McCarthy, I love all the actresses in it, 100%. Chris Hemsworth, Mr. Thor himself being the dumb, tall blonde, but it didn't take itself seriously. It didn't take the lore seriously. Look, it can be a funny movie. It can be comedic, but in the end, you have to take the subject matter seriously to purvey that to people. If it's a joke to you, it's a joke to us. That's all I'm going to say. But in between those two, you have Ghostbusters the game. And if you've never played it, it is unlike anything I've ever seen in my entire life. It literally puts you right in to the lore of a new Ghostbuster joining their team. And I like the fact they didn't make you pick one of them. It is a separate character that you're diving into in the lore, surrounded by the team. And there are certain moments where you're around interacting and talking with them, chasing Slimer, the Sedgwick Hotel, the Spiderwick Ghost, fighting Stay Puft, the Marshmallow Man, Gozer the Garzarian. There is just so much. Tobin's Spirit Guide, upgrading your pack to the slime pack. There is so much into that game that makes you feel like you're in the Ghostbusters world, that feeling the loss of the actual people, Ivan Reitman and Harold Ramis, it chokes me up playing the game, because it was really one of the last real ventures into the Ghostbusters with them before they passed. Afterlife and Frozen Empire did not have them. And I think that's where the Kristen Wiig, Melissa McCarthy Ghostbusters failed at what they did. They jumped in and it was like, oh, we not them, the writers and everything else. Because the cinematography, besides being so much unbelievable CG and making everything CG, it pissed me off. Because practical and CG need to go together in a Ghostbusters franchise. But the movie had no heart. It had no... To make a Ghostbusters reiteration like Afterlife and Frozen Empire, first of all, give credit and respect to the actual movie. The people that came before you that did it and are not here anymore. Afterlife did that. That's what grounded me on their new franchise. The scene where Egon is dead, but his spirit comes back to help them, is a tearjerker. Something I was not prepared for in a Ghostbusters movie. But on the same token, that emotionality is built on Ghostbusters 1, 2, and even the game. I'm not going to say it's like The Matrix where you have to play the game to understand what happens in Afterlife and Frozen Empire, but it does help. So, in the first movie, Gozer the Garzarian needs a body to inhabit into this world. So he uses his minions to possess Sigourney Weaver and Rick Moranis, who are the gatekeeper and the keymaster that together open up the gate. And I love the fact that they pulled no punches in what they did. The keymaster and the gatekeeper were all adults. A key goes into the gate, turns it, and it opens. So you're wondering, how does the keymaster and the gatekeeper open the gate? They have sex. Not long out, not drawn, not overcomplicated, but yes, it makes sense. It fits. It's realism. That's not childish. That is for the adults. Just like a lot of the jokes is for the adults. A lot of the Ghostbusting action, I would say, is for mid-teen to late children. But there is a lot going on in this movie that is adult. And I like that because adults deserve to have a great time too. Not just the children, not just the teens, but a movie pretty much during the rating system of being PG-13. Nowadays it would have been rated R, but at the time where PG and PG-13 was kind of smudged along the lines, this movie came along at the right time, and I'm so glad it did. Ghostbusters 1 left me with a feeling that I wanted more, and that is one of the greatest things in acting. Always leave them wanting more, and that came to Ghostbusters 2. Now, Ghostbusters 2, the sequels, a lot of times have sequelitis. They just do the same things, reiterate the same jokes, punch in the same things, and they're like, because it's part 2, they're gonna watch it. This is one of the exceptions that disprove that rule. Along with Terminator 2, Aliens, there's a bunch of other franchises where 2 takes number 1, steps on top of it, and launches higher. Now, Ghostbusters 2 was a phenomenon. After Ghostbusters 1, there were lunchboxes, toys, there were television shows, there were people dressing up for Halloween costumes. You had the packs on sale, you had the traps on sale, you had the PKE meters on sale. It was all out there for the taking because Ghostbusters was this ginormous franchise that just jumped on. You saw it on your Saturday morning cartoons with Ghostbusters. Then there was Slimer in the real Ghostbusters because Slimer was so good, he got his own spinoff with the Ghostbusters where he went on his own adventures. And I love Slimer in the real Ghostbusters too. Absolutely amazing. But with Ghostbusters 2, the movie, you got cameos from big stars. You got a bigger budget. You got better effects. Everything that 1 was doubled for 2. And it was just absolutely amazing. When I think about the greatest things I've ever seen in movies, Ghostbusters 2 is one of them. Them sliming the Statue of Liberty and walking around the city of New York to Your Love Is Lifting Me Higher. Oh my God, I love that scene. I absolutely love that scene. Walter Peck being the annoying a-hole, so much to the point that in real life he received death threats. Dude, he was playing a role. I'm sorry, Mr. Peck, but you were asshole of the 80s. In Die Hard, you were the a-hole reporter. In Ghostbusters, you were the a-hole Anna Fertento nutbag trying to destroy them. And they were trying to save the world. Nothing said. No ill will, Walter Peck, for you, the actor, but you were the asshole of the franchise. And you know what? At the end, I loved you too, because you were even in the game too. Now, the story of Ghostbusters 2 takes place immediately after the events of part 1. Dana has a baby, supposedly by another man. His name is Oscar. And Gozer is back, but it is Vigo the Carpathian now taking center stage as the big bad in the second movie. He wants to come into this world. But to come into this world, he needs a body to inhabit. Little Oscar is the body. And little Oscar as a baby is a scene-stealing, great, cute little chubby cherub of a baby, and he's amazing. Doesn't say a word, but just the looks and the purveyance make him amazing. Now, Rick Moranis also being Dennis was amazing, but we needed another goofy character like Rick Moranis, which you had Peter McNichol. He was known as Janosch. If you don't know who Janosch is, he is the guy with the weird accent that you can't quite place, who works in the museum where Vigo the Carpathian is possessing him to find a body. And Janosch, why am I drippings with goo? He's that guy. If you don't know, sorry, I got an eyelash in my eye. Hold on. If you don't know who Janosch is, he is Rick Moranis squared in this movie. And it's funny to have both of them to play off because Rick Moranis is playing a more serious role. He's still goofy, but he's a more serious role in this movie. And Peter McNichol, Janosch, is the goofball. But he's the goofball in a great way. There is a scene where the power goes out in New York and he's walking down the hallway and he talks to Dana. Woohoo! Oh, I'm sorry that I spoke. Do you need anything? Like, there's a scene where he's talking to Dana and she closes the door on him because he's weird. I love him. I love Peter McNichol. I love him. But as he's walking down the hallway, he turns and his eyeballs turns into headlights. And he's walking around flashing his eyeball headlights everywhere. Beautiful effect. Amazing and creepy. When he grabs Oscar and his eyes glow red, it's actually scary. Plus, part 2 concentrates on slime. Now, the slime plays a huge part because you have the negative river of slime, which feeds off of negative emotions, which causes things to happen until something explodes. And then a ghost appears. Then you have the positively charged mood slime that they can spray on things. It reacts to music. Jackie Wilson. You'll see Jackie Wilson played 2 times in this movie. In the toaster incident, and in the Statue of Liberty, and I love them both. I will say, Winston Zeddemore, he has less lines in this movie, but he has more of a presence in this movie. And I love that when he is on screen and he is talking, he has a commanding force with him. Like, his lines literally make everything better. And he's the only Ghostbuster that doesn't get arrested. The rest of them get arrested. Mainly because in the second movie, the Ghostbusters who saved the city, they're cast to the side again. Remember, you only need them in case of emergency, break open glass. So they've been sued, they've been went after, they're trying to shut down their ghost house, they're calling them charlatans, they're calling them fakes. Walter Peck is one of the main people who shuts the grid off and causes the big explosion of ghosts, which is amazing in that scene. The cab scene with the creepy ass, oh my god. And then you have Cheech Marin in a cameo. There's a lot of cameos in here. And then you have I have a dock supervisor down on Pier 31. He said the Titanic just arrived. Like, I love the montage, just like they did in part 1. When the ghosts are taking over the city, you have a montage that happens. And that really is a spectacle to look at. Matter of fact, let me show you just a little bit. Stay right there. Okay, like I said, the montage is awesome. I love the special effects. I love everything about Ghostbusters 2. It just took part 1 and it jumped into the stratosphere. Like I said, unfortunately, when it comes to the all-female Ghostbusters 1, it took place in a time where cinema was trying to prove that women can be leading ladies, which is funny because previously, on the first 2 reiterations, having Sigourney Weaver, if you've ever watched Aliens, she proved a leading lady could be a leading lady without throwing men in the back seat. I get it. I get the movement. I support women. After all, I love them too. But at the same token, you shove too much in the face of men and people in general of the fandom, and then you took everything that made the movie great and you twisted those roles. Instead of Janine being the secretary because it was maybe seen as sexist, you had Chris Hemsworth as the dumb blonde secretary doing the dumbest things. And it's not just comic dumb, it's stupid dumb. And I hate that when a movie itself can't take itself seriously. You can have people like in Airplane or in Scary Movie or something, you can act like the people are really there, and at the same token, take yourself serious. If you don't take yourself serious, it takes me out of it. And just the goofy gags turned up to a 27. It kind of reminds me of when Batman went from 1989 and then Batman Returns, and then we go into that Joel Schumacher franchise where everything is turned up to an 11 and it's neon everywhere and there's bat nipples and everything is a joke. Like, there's no seriousness. Even with serious scenes, everything is a joke. And that destroys the feeling. I wanted to love that Ghostbusters. I love all the actresses in it. I love all the actors in it. It sounds like on paper it would be a knock into the stratosphere. But unfortunately it wasn't. It fell flat and it didn't resonate with the Ghostbusters community because you alienated the #1 fans of the franchise. The geeks, the nerds. We are a part of that franchise. Yes, I am a geek. I am a nerd. Computer nerd. I even had glasses in the earlier renditions where you see like a straw on one side and a metal piece of fork on the other side, and they was spoked onto my glasses. Yes, I am that nerd. I am proud of it. I wear it as a badge of honor. I am a computer nerd. Yes, I probably know more about teraflops and gigage than most people could ever dream, dare to learn. But on the same token, I like what I like, I love what I love. And sandwiched between two great movies, Ghostbusters 1 and Ghostbusters 2, and then sandwiched between two great movies, Ghostbusters Afterlife and Ghostbusters Frozen Empire, you have this version of the Ghostbusters. And it just does not hold up. It is the weakest link. Now, because it's a Ghostbusters franchise, because you had Bill Murray in it and cameos and stuff like that, I'm including it. I even have it. But on the same token, of all the other Ghostbusters, to me, it is Ghostbusters 1, Ghostbusters 2, the game, Ghostbusters, the game, because it is a story that bridges Afterlife and Frozen Empire between Ghostbusters 1 and 2. Believe it or not, it does. 100%. Then you have Ghostbusters Afterlife, and then you have Ghostbusters The Frozen Empire. Now, there are 6 reiterations altogether, including the game. But when it comes to the movies, I only count 4. Because I tried doing a marathon of the Ghostbusters, and I watched 1 through through The Frozen Empire. And every single last time, the middle, it's like, how can I put this without being too negative? Every single last other one I can watch, binge through the whole episode, except for when I'm sitting there picking up my phone and looking at things in the female version. Now, I will say, The Frozen Empire, it could have been a perfect Ghostbusters movie, except for one thing. Egon's daughter. I'm not going to jump on it. I'm not going to hit it in the teeth. But I will say, taking the smartest person that you proved was smart, Egon's daughter, from Afterlife, and making her so stupid for the purposes of the movie, I couldn't go with it. That is the weakest link in Ghostbusters Frozen Empire. Her whole relationship with her and the ghost and being used. That entire segment is the weakest part of the movie. If they wanted a relationship and showed who she was as a person, there were better ways of going about it. But like I said, you have a lot of millennialisms that happen in Ghostbusters Frozen Empire. So it didn't land as much as Ghostbusters Afterlife, which is a problem. I mean, it's still better than the Kristen Wiig and Melissa McCarthy version by fathoms, but it's not strongest in the entire Ghostbuster universe. I would place it last. Definitely it's going to be Ghostbusters 1, Ghostbusters 2, the game, and Afterlife, and then Frozen Empire, and then Ghostbusters 2016 or whatever it was with Melissa McCarthy and Kristen Wiig. I hate saying that because I really wanted so much for it. And there is a Ghostbusters game where you can pick different characters, and it doesn't have the original Ghostbusters, where they have a woman. And I always pick the woman in that game. And I'm like, okay, so it's going to be like that game. I love that game, so it's awesome. It's like going to be jumping in between Sanctum of Slime and the other Ghostbusters. And I was like, yeah, I'm out. I'm all aboard for it. And then when I watched the movie, I'm like, that was stupid. That didn't make sense. All right, that's the gag. All right. Why is everything CG? Why does everything have to be CG? Like, how does Slimer look faker now than he did in the 80s? You have all this technology, and yet Slimer looks faker now than he ever has. Oh, there's Chris Hemsworth. I love him. He's Thor. Why is he stupid? What? Why? Wait a minute. The whole club scene, the whole train scene, and the subway. I'm like, it felt like watching an SNL sketch. That's what it felt like, watching an SNL sketch. And I'm like, you've bastardized my favorite franchise. But there was light at the end of the tunnel because Afterlife came out. And I gave Afterlife the shot that I didn't in the Kristen Wiig and Melissa McCarthy one. And I was never so more pleased than to actually watch Afterlife. It paid homage to legacy. It gave you new characters. It reunited old characters. It was a handshake from the original Ghostbusters to the new Ghostbusters. And it felt like you cared about the franchise. Like I said, I never in 1,000 years would have dreamed of seeing myself go to tears in a Ghostbusters movie. But at the end, with Afterlife, with Harold Ramis knowing that he had passed away, and a lot of the Ghostbusters themselves, Dan Aykroyd, Bill Murray, Ernie Hudson, being in that scene with their fallen comrade gone in real life, you can see it in their eyes. I'm going to tears now. Not going to do it. I'm not going to cry. You can see it in their eyes and in their emotions, and it's a very emotional scene, and it's a beautiful send-off for Harold Ramis and Ivan Reitman. It's a beautiful send-off. And then you have Afterlife, which we saw. I mean, you have Frozen Empire, and from the trailers, Frozen Empire looked amazing. From a standpoint of watching Afterlife, Frozen Empire looked absolutely on par. But when the movie delivered, too many minds, too many irons in the fire, too many thought processes, too many, let's take what we did in Afterlife and crank it up to a nice, respectable level. Which they tried to do, the same that they did in Ghostbusters 2. But unfortunately, lightning didn't strike twice quietly as strong as it did with Afterlife. Though Frozen Empire is a good time, it is not as heartfelt as Afterlife. And a lot of the times when you're watching Frozen Empire, it feels like it's setting up the next movie. It feels like, you know how those Marvel movies, they make a Marvel movie just to set up the next movie, and the only reason why you watch the movie is for the end credit scene, so you can see the next movie set up. Morbius. Morbius. Okay, so it felt like it was just setting up a Ghostbusters Empire and a new Ghostbusters movie. Which, around that time, there is a game that came out called Spirits Unleashed, which, if you haven't played it, it is a great time. Kind of think of the Friday the 13th game where you have Jason, and you can be either Jason or you could be a camp counselor. If it's Jason, you chase the counselors and you take them out. And if you're one of the camp counselors, your job is to escape and put down Jason. Ghostbusters Spirits Unleashed is like that. You can play either the ghost haunting a place, or you can play one of 4 new Ghostbusters. Now, the appealing part of this is you can play it online with your friends. So you and 4 of your friends can get together and be Ghostbusters, or one of you guys can get together and be a ghost against you guys. But there's voice chat, there is talking, and every single last time that I have played online Ghostbusters Spirits Unleashed, it has been a phenomenal, great time. You can go on my Game Ninja channel. Like I said, type in Rain the Game Ninja in the search bar. You'll see my channel pop up. I had fun playing Spirits Unleashed with people online. Some people I knew, some people I didn't know. It was just a random lobby. But it was funny to hear people's reactions, to see them respond. It felt like I was part of the Ghostbusters universe again, but it felt like the next chapter. It wasn't as good as Ghostbusters the game, but if there ever was an interactive experience where it puts you into the Ghostbusters universe, I did like Spirits Unleashed. Now, having come to Ghostbusters Afterlife and Ghostbusters The Frozen Empire, and then you have the 2000s Ghostbusters with Kristen Wiig and Melissa McCarthy. How does the series sit as a whole? Even with a little bit down on Frozen Empire and way down on the 2001, I'm just going to go ahead and say the entire series is platinum, 100% platinum. You can't go wrong with the first movie. You can't go wrong with the second movie. You can't go wrong with Ghostbusters the game or Spirits Unleashed. You can't go wrong with Afterlife. And Frozen Empire, it's okay to watch. It is okay to watch. You're going to find the scenes that I was talking about that kind of drag the movie down, where they're trying to explore a subplot with Egon's daughter and this ghost, which you automatically know is there for no good reason. I don't get it why people are not as, you were not as, you were transparent in the plot. We saw it coming a mile away. But I did like the big bad at the end. I did like the ice storm and the beach. I did like that it gave an apocalyptic feeling. Because Ghostbusters 1 had an apocalyptic feeling when the world went crazy. Ghostbusters 2 had an apocalyptic feeling when Vigo unleashed hell on the world and a Ghostbusters firehouse blew up because the containment grid got shut off by Walter Peck. There was that feeling was not present in the 2000s one with Kristen Wiig and Melissa McCarthy. At no point did I feel like the world was in peril. It just felt like a joke. There was no seriousness to it. No matter what happened, her getting fired, her being removed from the university, them all being like attacked by the city, nothing felt real. It felt like a joke. Now, Afterlife picked the torch back up and ran with the ball. It felt like a real apocalypse impending. It felt like real death. It felt like the addition of Paul Rudd was thankful. I mean, he had been the Ant-Man at the time, and he's a little bit Ant-Man-ish in Afterlife, but he pulled it back enough to give the series heart. And that's what's needed. Heart. You gotta have heart. Then you go into Afterlife, and they're running with the torch, but it blows out a few times. Now, in the end, the torch is still there. I did like Aziz in it. I like his ability. I like the fire bringer. I loved everything that you introduced to this Ghostbusters lore. It felt like a real Ghostbusters lore, and it felt like the world was ending. That's what's needed. That's the reason why I can watch it over and over again. There's parts, like I said, that yank me out of it, but as a whole, it stuck the landing, which is what you want in a movie. So, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, Ghostbusters, the franchise, where does it rank? And that's really the question. Is it signal of a good time? Or did it fall flat? Well, I'm going to go ahead and tell you. Even the addition to the weaker versions, Frozen Empire and the 2000s, could not tank the franchise enough for me not to include them. So in all, through all, be all, they are, believe it or not, the Ghostbusters. And it is a fantastic franchise steeped in animation, real life, cartoons, memorabilia, merchandise, so much to the point where I myself, I told you, and you've seen it, I myself have, let me grab it since it's down here on the floor. I myself have a working ghost trap, and yes, a working PKE meter, because I like to suit up and grab my stuff when I play Ghostbusters the game. That's right. I myself am a geek bone for Ghostbusters, and yes, I will still jump on there. Anytime, every time. I even suit up. I have my goggles. I have my red goggles that I put on the top of my head when I'm playing. So, you know what I'm saying? I can put them across on my eyes. And I'll jump into any rendition. I'll even go into my PSP, pull out the PSP, and bust that Ghostbusters. That's right, PSP had Ghostbusters the game too. I have PlayStation 2, I'll bust it on the PlayStation 2. Like, when it comes to Ghostbusters, it's one of those franchises that takes you through a lore that most people dare to dream of. It is high adventure, it is excitement, it is escapism and fantasy in ways that most movies dream. But at the end, you have a great time and you feel like you've accomplished something. So, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, thank you for joining me here at 24K, where Ghostbusters is more than just a movie. It's a universe we lived in, we fought in, we watched, we cried, we laughed, we even got scared. It's touched every boundary across the cinematic marks. And that's why this series, Ghostbusters, is platinum. Absolute platinum. I'll even show y'all something that's pretty funny. I'm into the Ghostbusters so much that I don't know if you can see him, but I'm going to show him. I have Slimer over here in the corner. Can y'all see it? Next to my Nintendo Switch, I have Slimer over there in the corner. That's right. I have Slimer himself guarding my Nintendo Switch games. I'm telling you, I got Ghostbusters memorabilia all around this room. I got boxes, I got loot crates. Like, Ghostbusters hits very hard with me. So this is a franchise that I am in love with, have been in love with, and still love to this day. If they make another movie, I'll be there. If they make another game, what up? Here we go. I am at the point where I love this entire franchise. Not even one or two movies can tank it, because I'll still go and watch those two movies. That's just who I am. And that's what I love about the franchise. It has its ups, it has its downs, it has its even flows, it has its dramatic increases, it has its sharp declines. It is everything across modern cinema, both old, modern, and futuristic. And I love it, and I'm here for it. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, one of my favorite movie franchises of all time. And if you're going to watch it during Halloween, you're going to have a Halloween watch party. You're going to have a Halloween party if you can afford it. I know the world right now is very bad. I know United States is very bad. I know money is strapped for everything. If you just got a bowl of popcorn and turn the lights off, and if you're able to stream it, watch it, grab the DVD, put it in, watch a Ghostbusters movie, and just let the world go for an hour to 2 hours. Just let your cares rescind. Escape into a universe steeped in lore, supernatural, magic, and ghosts. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, my love for the Ghostbusters cannot be understated. So till next time, next movie, next popcorn bucket, this time it's on the Game Ninja. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, I give to you Ghostbusters, the franchise. Because sometimes shit happens and someone's got to deal with it, and who you gonna call? I know who I'm gonna call. Ghostbusters. Or as Annie Potts, Janine would say, who are you going to call? Ghostbusters. Anyway, what am I doing? Anyway, I will see you guys next time from the Game Dojo. Thank you guys for joining me here for 24K Movies, TV shows, and video game reviews, where we reviewed Ghostbusters, the franchise. Now, if you want to see actual gameplays of the games that I was talking about, go to, like I said, type in the search bar, Rain Crow, the Game Ninja. You'll see my video game channel pop up. It's the newest video, one of the newest videos that just popped up. You will see gameplay from probably 6 or 7 different games that I jumped into to celebrate the Ghostbusters this Halloween. Till then, I'll catch you guys next time.